Trump era, when low childbearing rates and male loneliness are accompanied by extreme sex stunts and AI pornography, what is Sexcess and what does this mean for women who built their brands on sex positivity and or choice feminism? Why do so many hoes, sluts, and sex workers seem to be writing for Donald Trump and other problematic men? Are some leftists and feminists so committed to empty slogans that they're in denial about reality? This video may ruffle a few feathers, but remember, before you come for me, you can always go f yourself. Let's be real, you should be doing that anyways. Masturbation is healthy. Prioritizing your sexual fulfillment is healthy. Shout out to Bellessa for sending me a batch of sex toys to explore. My friends at Bellessa and I are literally sending out free vibrators or gift cards for vibrators to everyone who signs up to my giveaway. Not only are they cute, but they're powerful too. I also really love the packaging on these toys, but I'm a total packaging junkie. Like, these the nice type of boxes that you don't want to throw away. I love that Bellessa is women owned and wants to encourage everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. Let's take a look. Each of these toys comes in their own special charging case. This is super fancy. This right here is the Pebble, and this is the Flutter Vibe. This one is impressive because it flutters like an actual tongue. This one is the Thump, my favorite. The Thump. This thing, oh my God, it's powerful. It's powerful as hell. This one is great because in addition to thumping, it vibrates and suctions too. The Air Vibe is my other favorite. The silent but deadly Air Vibe. This one, you know, sometimes you need to be discreet, okay? You need a little quiet something that's gonna do a little something, all right? In technical terms, it's perfect for the G-spot and clitoral stimulation. These safe, quality, and waterproof toys are going to change your life. When you go to the link in my description box, you'll get a free sex toy or gift certificate. Thanks again to Bellessa for helping me foster honest discourse about sex and for hooking up my subscribers. In 2015, the artist formerly known as Kanye West slammed his ex-girlfriend Amber Rose, the former stripper, by saying that he needed to take 30 showers before getting with his new woman, the one-time adult film star Kim Kardashian. It's very hard for a woman to want to be with someone that's with Amber Rose, said Kanye. Amber, who was then in post-divorce with the rapper Wiz Khalifa, had long held a negative reputation, especially in the black community, as a hoe and gold digger. Taking offense to Kanye's comments, feminists rallied around Amber, and she felt empowered enough to hold a slut walk 8 months later. Leaning into being a slut became central to Amber's brand identity, and she benefited from the era's politics. During this time period, no slut shaming was a central component of fourth wave choice feminism, in which women deserve equality had evolved into women have choices and all of those choices are feminist. The following year, after her first slut walk, Amber denounced Donald Trump's campaign. Now, less than 10 years later, she's a full-blown Trump supporter, perhaps trying to outdo her ex's ex, who she also happens to share a birthday with. Amber was trotted out at the Republican National Convention and a whole bunch of other events and cheered on by people who, had she retained her liberal beliefs, would have called her a tattoo-faced cum dumpster. And she's not the only one. Are the girls getting more conservative? In fall of 2024, it was reported that some sex workers didn't forget that Kamala Harris was instrumental in shutting down Backpage and sponsoring FOSTA/SESTA, which pushed many of them back into survival street work. And then there were a number of porn stars who championed the Trump campaign because of the economy, despite the fact that Project 2025 seeks to destroy porn with a specific mandate stating, pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders. And telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. This didn't sway Trumpian porn stars. Nothing I've seen or heard convinces me that Project 2025 is something that President Trump cares about even remotely, said Tiffany Madison to Cherry DeVille for The Spectator World. A good bit of this, especially for those porn stars making millions, is making sure their taxes stay low. Another part is, of course, racism and other bigotries. But it's more complex than that. What's up with conservative sex workers, sluts, and porn stars who love Trump and other hallmarks of the manosphere? First, let's explore the whorearchy. Imagine a pyramid that parallels the class system of broader society. Your existence in the sex worker hierarchy depends on a few things. Primarily, how intimate do you get with clients and how much money do you make? The approximate thinking goes, if you are a street-based full-service sex worker, you're the lowest on the pyramid. If you're a cam girl who gets nude on live streams, you're higher up than a sugar baby or stripper who gives lap dances, but lower than a big-breasted non-nude cosplayer who makes thousands or even millions from bikini and twerk videos. If you're a stripper, you're lower than a faceless, contactless phone sex operator, but higher up than a porn star. And if you're a porn star, you're slightly below a top-tier escort serving politicians and millionaires, but higher up than a streetwalker. However, points are knocked off if you're up to extreme taboos involving non-cum bodily fluids in Europe and the Middle East. A study of nearly 300 people's perceptions of sex workers in 2024 found that more positive attitudes were held towards OnlyFans and sugar relationships, and more negative attitudes held towards pornography and prostitution. While many civilians don't care to differentiate between the types of sex work, you're all sluts. During this era of sexcess, state porn restrictions, and rising conservatism, it's become more important for many sex workers to enhance the lines of demarcation between themselves and what they consider to be riffraff. They always have, like women in other industries. Consider the rapper Lotto, who regularly raps about her pussy and how wet it is and how great it is, often reminding listeners that she's got a low body count, to the point that even some men find it weird.
I was saying, why you always saying that in your music? That's little now. On my mother now, stop that now. Ojo, stop saying that, bro.
Stop saying what?
Why you always saying in your song how much bodies you got though? Who gives a fuck?
Whoever said, I said I have a low body count.
No,
That's all I said.
you always make it seem as if you could count your bodies on one hand.
I
really
can
listen to
though.
you.
I can though.
But why does that matter though?
Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Got it.
It-
Squeak clean. Don't be mad.
She's saying, I'm not like those other hoes. I'm a good hoe. Relatedly, women considered pass-arounds like Ruby Rose, India Love, etc. gain a fragile veneer of protection when they stand up for abusers or position themselves as the cool girl. Though troublingly, both Ruby and India have been preyed upon by industry men as teenagers, making their defense of abusers unsurprising. They aren't the only ones. For example, a bevy of female entertainers and wannabes less talented than Megan Thee Stallion are able to gain press and fans when they abandon all logic and act like Tory Lanez is a political prisoner. Perhaps it's because nobody saved them when they were abused or harmed, but by attacking Megan, they hope to secure their positions as one of the cool girls, deserving of male praise and affection.
1, 2, Kaya's coming for you. Wake up and make your man some breakfast before I do.
The popular 23-year-old streamer Cooking with Kaya notably is sensual and sexy. She shows her body, capitalizes on her eroticism for clicks, jokes about taking people's man, etc., which has garnered accusations of her being a pick-me. Making food sexy is nothing new or salacious, which we've discussed in this episode of Let's Talk About Sex History. Kaya, who started posting in fall 2024, is pretty, chooses great music, makes simple meals that men like, and seems easygoing. On one hand, she turned off women who view her as competition by joking that she'd steal their men, and women who object to profiting from sex appeal. Despite this basically being a TikTok chef version of a female rapper, Kaya got a lot of criticism. This only made her male audience grow. But would Cooking with Kaya's audience be so big and or male if she didn't align herself with trash like DDG, who recently has been reported to have abused his baby mother Halle Bailey? Even before the court documents and before Cooking with Kaya was taken up for him saying he was so cool and all this shit, it was clear he's a fucking lunatic.
Give me my fucking son back.
What? Why are you acting like this?
Because you don't know how to respect me and you disrespect me in public.
Who does that? Who does that?
Doodle garbage!
When Cooking with Kaya was accused of cheating on her boyfriend at Kai Cenat Streamer University because she danced near another man who grabbed her,
Supposedly, he touched me and I had no idea. Like, he touched me without me even seeing. So I was unaware of that until the chat started saying like his name. And I didn't know who he was at first, but he did just come up to me. He apologized if he did do it, which I'm not denying that he did because I seen like a clip or whatever, but he apologized for it.
her boyfriend broke up with her and the backlash was swift.
no women are defending her. Well, and that makes sense, right? Because she told all of the women before that she could take their man. So all you have on TikTok is a whole bunch of dudes upset. Your damn fantasy has been popped.
I feel like my name just gets slandered so much, and I really don't be doing nothing. Like, I literally don't be doing nothing.
Strategically, Kaya deflected all that attention to stand up for DDG. Now, she's making her way through manosphere content creators like Aiden Ross. While the choices of these women turn off many of their peers, it's a decisive move in a patriarchal ecosystem where money is to be made from a primarily male audience. These types of e-girls want to profit from men's lust, but don't want to be subject to men's hatred, and thus have chosen their side. Their sexy behavior, which would have been assailed or not profitable in past decades, pales in comparison to others in the Whorearchy. Wrote Star X Smith on Kaya's appeal. She has a light touch of sensuality, the kind that's more charm than shock value, like Sexy Red, Lizzo, and City Girls. The wilder antics of such artists make Kaya more palatable, just like sex workers have made sexual female rappers more palatable. Pandering, especially in this new era of wealthy streamers and manosphere culture, will continue to be profitable for Kaya and other women, though who knows for how long. This brings us back to Sexcess. For a short window of time in the 2010s and early 2020s, we seem to be moving past slut shaming. No slut shaming was a common refrain I heard, saw, and even said myself on multiple occasions. As I've gotten older, hollow slogans have lost their value. I'm tired of discourse being boiled down to platitudes and moral grandstanding. There are limits. For example, I cannot simply and absolutely believe women because too many white women are racist and weaponize their whiteness to harm black people. I can, however, take all abuse, violence, and rape claims seriously and consider all evidence. I cannot imagine a world without prisons because I'm too busy living in the real world, watching real black femicide and child rape stories unfold. Why say abolish prisons or free them all when I actually mean decarcerate for petty and survival crimes and keep murderers and abusers and child rapists locked up away from me? I cannot commit to no kink shaming because I think you are disturbed if you are black and want to indulge in race play. Yes, I will judge you if you like to be shat on. No, I don't want you if you're aroused by incest. And yes, you should be locked up if your kink is AI generated or human created illustrations of child sex abuse media, or AI revenge porn of celebrities and everyday people. When the time in the not so distant future arrives for bleeding hearts to advocate for the use of sex dolls modeled after children for pedophiles and calling it a fetish or kink, what will you say? No kink shaming? And to the point of this video, I cannot earnestly say with my chest, no slut shaming. Because sometimes, and I say this as a retired OnlyFans creator, y'all be doing too much. I reached this breaking point when I saw an OnlyFans creator sucking on a gas station pump in broad daylight while kids and people was walking by. I don't believe that such behavior means you should be harmed or treated as subhuman, but I find it weird, gratuitous, intentionally pushing the limits of slogans that people use when they're morally grandstanding and virtue signaling. In this media illiterate nation, feminist and leftist slogans, along with virtue signaling, are unfortunately more important than theory and healthy debate, creating the circumstances for everyone, including those who consider themselves feminists and leftists, to misrepresent and misinterpret the most important ideas. Basically, people don't do the readings, they don't study the facts, and they don't acknowledge gigantic elephants in the room because to do so would be providing ammo for the other side. They also follow the herd. In Moral Grandstanding and Political Polarization, a multi-study consideration, the authors wrote, consider a discussion between like-minded individuals, each of whom thinks of herself as caring deeply for the poor. If someone says that justice demands a $15 per hour minimum wage, another can simply respond that it would be even more just to institute a $20 per hour minimum wage. In a grandstanding rich environment, the others in the group now must either accept that this person seems to care more for the poor or adjust their own stated views to keep up. If enough others in the group accept the ramped up claim, those with doubts or concerns risk being left behind or called out as naysayers. Many people find it more palatable to subtly calibrate their views according to their in-group's platform than to risk apostate status. In short, moral grandstanding might lead to extremism about any given issue. Basically, people blindly follow along, repeating slogans, accepting extremes without context, and paving the way for backlash. This brings me to stunt porn stars and OnlyFans creators Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue, the latter of whom's most famous sex stunts include having sex with 1,057 men in 24 hours, many of them 18 to 19 years old. I do not bring up these women lightly, and definitely not to promote them, as I know many of you aren't even knee-deep enough in internet spaces to even know who they are, but to help you understand why we are in a period of sexcess, I must bring them up. To be clear, consensual stunt gangbangs aren't new.
I want you to meet Annabelle Chong. To set a world record, this woman had sex with 251 men in 10 hours.
Having sex with 251 men in one day, well, for 10 hours is no different from having sex with one guy for 10 hours. And I've done that before.
Plus, it's not something particularly to be proud of, is it? I mean, why would you do it?
I come from the city of angels, and I think decadence is a major part of our modern society there. And I think that as far as decadence goes, we probably beat them all with this one. This is a tough act to follow as far as decadence.
In 1995, the 22-year-old porn star Annabelle Chong, who was really the Singaporean-born University of Southern California graduate Grace Kwek, starred in the world's biggest gangbang, reportedly having sex with 251 men, though she later admitted to there being less than 70. Annabelle Chong gives porn a bad name, declared an editorial in Hustler erotic video. Kwek, a gang rape victim prior to the shoot, who was never paid the $10,000 fee she was promised for her performance, admitted that the event wasn't safe, saying, "The only thing I thought I'd do differently if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely be more savvy about making sure all the guys were tested and wearing condoms for the big gangbang event. Otherwise, I would do it the same way." The stunt created a trend of stunt gangbangs in porn, with the number of male participants growing ever larger and larger. Though stars like Lisa Sparks, who allegedly slept with 919 men in one marathon, would later come out and say that there weren't actually that many men. Grace starred in a documentary about her life long before Lily Phillips did. Fast forward to the modern era, when Lily and Bonnie, both British women aged 23 and 26, notoriously sleep with hundreds of 18 to 19-year-olds and married men who queue up for the opportunity, which has earned them millions of dollars, allegedly. While the gangbangs aren't new, their proliferation and availability online is. Once contained to corners of the internet and backroom video stores and practiced by consenting adults in the privacy of swinger spaces, it's now front and center on timelines and Manosphere podcasts for free. On one hand, Bonnie and Lily both face the same dilemma facing many explicit content creators. A lot of people did not violently object to pornography before women had the capability to earn millions through their exclusive ownership. But it would be foolish to think that's the sole reason Bonnie and Lily generate disgust from not just mainstream anti-porn crusaders, but from full-service sex workers and their OnlyFans peers. OnlyFans itself removed the 1,000 men gangbang videos because it couldn't verify the participants' identities and ages. Shortly before publishing this video, it was reported that Bonnie was banned from OnlyFans for planning a petting zoo with aspirations to let 2,000 men use her in any fashion while tied up in a cage. Because performers like Bonnie and Lily have gone so extreme so fast, their only options are to go even more extreme or disappear in the sea of performers making conventional stuff. And from the interviews I've read, they really don't want to disappear. It's no longer women empowerment. It's shock value, and Bonnie's making a joke out of all of us. I would really like to know who is running her clown show. There are thousands of women making real money and supporting themselves through this, said OnlyFans creator Sophie Rain. 20-year-old Rain is one of those extremely rare unicorns who doesn't get nude on OnlyFans and has made over $70 million in the process, playing up being a Christian virgin. The starlet, who hung around with the white supremacist Aiden Ross, said, "The Lord's very forgiving. God knows my heart." It's obvious why she would lean into the empowerment angle of OnlyFans, because distinguishing herself from other sluts in this manner is clearly quite lucrative. But she's got that empowerment part wrong. As I argued in this video over 5 years ago, sex work isn't about empowerment. It can be lucrative and change your life, but it is not inherently politically or socially empowering in a capitalistic society, as so many sex workers and mainstream feminists claim.
It's empowering for women, like not just for me, like for other women
So you're
as well.
speaking for all women?
Majority. The ones
Right.
that aren't lazy.
What's empowering?
Loads of women are sexualized all the time, but this way I'm in control of what's sexualized, how I'm doing it, how I'm managing it, and I'm also earning money from it.
They didn't get tested and you just hoped a condom stayed on.
But that's empowering to me, like knowing I love taking that many people, I'm in control, and even when I'm not in control, I love it.
Radical feminists have theorized the links between rape and porn since the 70s, with Robin Morgan saying pornography is the theory, rape the practice. In their view, all sex workers are coerced into sex work from economic need or by an exploitative partner, turning all of them into victims or exploiters themselves. For example, a rad femme would argue that my decision to participate in online sex work and build my own pockets further legitimized the demand for porn, making men more violent, porn more prevalent, and leading to the inevitable exploitation of somebody, somewhere down the line. It's a real chicken or the egg scenario that attempts to control, alt-delete the realities of the world, death, survival, human sexuality, in favor of an idealistic, heteronormative utopia where women would collectively give up doing sex work and the male demand would simply cease to exist. Even though that's not happening, I do agree to a point that our actions are linked in a bigger system. For female OnlyFans creators who, for a brief time, were cheered, celebrated, and treated relatively nicely during the worldwide pandemic, the backlash to Sexcess has meant more assaults on their character for doing online sex work. For full-service workers who dislike Bonnie and Lily, their disgust lies in fears of more violent and dehumanizing interactions with clients and the public. While the attitude towards sex work seemed more permissive a few short years ago, porn restrictions in 17 states show that the tides have turned. When women like Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips showcase extreme sexual stunts like sleeping with 1,000 men in less than a day, even if they are comfortable with the possible diseases, anal trauma, injuries, and social backlash, they embody people's worst fears about the sexual pendulum swinging too far. It also makes them perfect candidates for fuzzy features in mainstream media where they're viewed through the lens of empowerment. But the truth is, porn-sick young men and teenagers consuming this content without comprehensive sex education in schools are dangerous. Young girls who consume this content are influenced too, to automatically accept choking, slapping, anal, and other activities without consideration of their own desires or consent. To the developing young minds wrestling with shame and Trump-supporting peers, seriously, I could not imagine being in school with MAGA kids. Bitch, I would be fighting every day. Feminism and sex are increasingly linked to extremities and negativity for young adults consuming manosphere content and watching their timelines for the latest stunts and bombshells. As early as 2018, Kate Julian was reporting in The Atlantic that teens and young people were having their first sexual experience later, having sex less frequently and abstaining from masturbation. Some of this abstinence is from lower rate of romantic relationships, the dating pool is trash, but others are fatigued by sex in the media they consume. It doesn't help matters that the lines between adult spaces and teen spaces have never been finer, if they even exist at all. We share music, books, movies, clothing brands, and timelines. And that's a problem. Relatedly, I strongly believe that Elon Musk's 2022 takeover of Twitter purposefully led to scores of porn bots intruding on vanilla threads and communities to further cause a feeling of sexcess. Because of disillusion with casual sex, sexual violence rates, and a gooning culture that sees Twitter punks asking Grok to paint women's faces with glue or to put paper bags over their faces, it's unsurprising that a new crop of young people and feminists are appalled at mainstream sexual positivity or conflating it with deviant behavior. They came of age during a time when some of the most sanctimonious and idealistic Twitter accounts reply "fuck my holes, mommy" to attractive vanilla selfies and bizarre hypersexual comment sections that I've personally experienced and turned my nose up at. The same sexually jaded Gen Zers who watch all of this also see that the general voting population has made it clear that they'll accept a rapist, racist, scamming troglodyte for president over accomplished yet problematic women. I've Obviously, abstinence has a new value and the whorearchy has renewed resonance. In my view, slutty women who align themselves with incels, manosphere miscreants, and conservatives are 1. Capitalizing on their novelty like black ultra-conservative grifters who once sued their high school for racism, or attempting to protect themselves because they have heard the squeals of the canary in the coal mine. Sluts are not safe. They never truly have been, but in 2025, backlash is on the menu. The first group will grift, profit, and move on if the pendulum swings back in their lifetime. But the second group thinks that moving from hoe to housewife will be their safest bet in this extreme patriarchy. Years from now, if the pendulum swings again in our lifetime, there'll be a chunk of women who fell for TikTok trad wife propaganda, who kick off their shackles and come forward about abuse, dissatisfaction, infidelity, and getting left for someone younger and hotter. They'll be like the women from the early 2010s who received mixed messages about casual sex, choice feminism, and slut shaming who have been coming forward lately with their own regrets. In this hellish world, the truth is no ideology or slogan can be considered without its worst extremes. There's always a person or group willing to take shit too far, because some people are chaotic and want to watch the world burn. You give motherfuckers an inch and they'll take a mile. No slut shaming is a slippery slope that leads to Bonnie Blue petting zoos and twerking on children a la Sukiyana, but the same can be said of going in the opposite direction. You know, like women being too repressed to seek sexual orgasms, rape victims not being believed, and girls having their clitoris circumcised to avoid female pleasure. While sexcess is bad, purity culture and sex negativity is bad too. Take the pop star Sabrina Carpenter, who has recently come under fire for her image. When Carpenter's upcoming album cover went viral, some Twitter users accused her of perpetuating violence against women. Said a Lady Gaga stan of all people, "People ask me, why do you care what straight men think? I care about my safety, and I care if we are being over-sexualized. Thank you." Like-minded tweeters agonized that men would see Sabrina's album cover and misunderstand feminism or suddenly feel empowered to be violent. But, wrote user Hannah Jones Cool, genuine question, do you think a feminist critical framework means approaching every art with the question, what will men think? Piggybacking off that, do you think approaching women's art and behavior with the question, what will men think or do, is effective? Of course not. Men rape and abuse women in countries where dress codes are strict and liberated sexuality is taboo. But in history, this has never been the prevailing logic when good girls attempt to disentangle themselves from bad girls to avoid violence. As I've mentioned in past content, the country has always skewed conservative and is growing more conservative. Leftism was not and has never been the majority sentiment. We are regressing. Women's rights, particularly abortion, are being sacrificed at the altar of political altruism and absolutism, and many are moving accordingly, making hard choices as our rights continue to crumble. They are questioning old slogans and reevaluating their priorities during a regime that seeks to subjugate them and is very loud about it.
I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree, and no, seriously. And just be clear, that's why you're going to college, right? Don't lie to yourself, I'm studying sociology. No, you're not, we know why you're here, and that's okay, actually.
I want more babies in the United States of America.
With reproductive rights being intentionally attacked to raise the birth rate, sex seems especially dangerous. Said Twitter user African Doll, stop listening to sex-positive older millennial women. They've messed themselves up behind losers and are now passing on the same rotten advice to the younger girls. Yes, feel free to have casual sex, but having casual sex with men who literally hate you is not empowering, especially with abortion now being illegal in most states. Having sex with men who you couldn't even depend on to spot you $100 in an emergency or even pick you up from the airport is not someone you should be having sex with. This isn't slut shaming. This is sound and well-rounded advice for girls growing up in a country that seeks to raise its marriage and birth rates by any means necessary. As As for women who have been permanently stitched with the scarlet letter A during a more permissive era, I'm talking OnlyFans girls, strippers, pussy rappers, full-service sex workers, porn stars, etc., they're making their choices too. Don't be surprised when more than a few take up religion, dabble in the manosphere, or align themselves with questionable characters for clout and money. Maybe they can't erase their histories of sex work, but they can overcompensate until somebody picks them. On the good woman, bad woman matrix, trad wives and conservative ladies will find themselves joined by the likes of women like Amber Rose. Radical feminists will share more in common with traditional and conservative women than my body, my choice feminists looking warily at Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips. Just because a sex worker's existence is fraught with political arguments and well-meaning pro-sex leftists champion her right to profit from her own labor, it does not mean that the sex worker in question is political or even good. Reported Cosmopolitan on Bonnie Blue, her stunts raised concerns around consent. It said that Blue checks their IDs and asks those she sleep with to sign a consent form, but some have argued that this isn't enough and that 18-year-olds aren't thinking about the future repercussions, given the material will be available online forever. Blue also faced backlash after saying, too many women nowadays are lazy when it comes to maintaining their marital sex lives. She also really leans into sleeping with barely legal teenage boys, like it's a big part of her branding, so it's extra creepy. When there's no discernment or shades of gray, we end up with a mutually exclusive binary where there are two bad options. Sex positive, where anything goes, and sex negative, where nothing goes. People love to cry about creating a third political party that isn't Democrat or Republican, but the moment you disagree with one take from your tribe, especially in online leftist spaces, you are automatically regulated to an enemy from the other team. I know you know what I'm talking about. Everybody who disagrees with us is a card-carrying conservative. I'm sure that's how we'll win arguments and affect radical change. How do we break free from the political binary if everything is so extreme? If there's no room for compromise or disagreement? This informs a bunch of my disillusion with leftist spaces and will be a topic in future content, but to the point of this video, there has to be an alternative to the binary of no slut shaming and sex is bad. Not everything a woman does is feminist, and certainly not everything a woman does needs feminist defending. The following quote from sex worker Jessie Sage really resonates with me. We are inclined to hold our cards close to our chests, afraid that sharing anything about our work lives that is not uniformly positive will be used against us by those eager to see our industry abolished, a standard workers in other industries are not expected to meet. We only have two tropes, the down and out worker or the happy hooker. Sex workers have no space to express ambivalence or complex feelings about their work. By the same token, in today's fraught political landscape, leftists and feminists have barely any space to express ambivalence or complex feelings about leftism and feminism. I stand by my long-held belief that any woman is one rumor or event away from being labeled a slut, and I stand by sex work being decriminalized. I encourage sexual freedom and positivity. Masturbation is healthy. Swingers have fun. Enjoy your orgies and your sex parties, beloved, and I can and do promote pleasure and consensual experiences, but this does not mean I accept Sexcess. Pretending that there's nothing wrong with sucking on a gas station pump in broad daylight or sleeping with 1,000 men in a day is as insane to me as pretending that masturbation is evil or that I'm supposed to wait for marriage until sex. I know somebody in the comments is gonna say, but if 1,000 is too much in a day, where do we draw the line, Lexual? 500, 150, 10, 2, 1? Okay, all right. You're moving the goalpost, love. We are talking about this specific number, the teenagers involved, the lack of STD precautions, and the widespread availability and coverage of this content. Let's break free from moral grandstanding and virtue signaling. We can promote sexual fulfillment and joy without going too far. Why are we shaming Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips, but not the mass men queuing up to have sex with them? Asked Felicity Martin. Don't worry, Felicity, we can shame them too. And people did. The men who lined up to have sex for Phillips and Blue's content were compared to the men who lined up to rape Giselle Pilico, the French woman whose husband plied her with sleeping pills and invited dozens of men to rape her for nearly a decade. Quite a few social media users and feminists compared the story to Blue and Lily, stripping them of their agency in the decision to do extreme sex stunts or making a prediction about possible exploitation behind the scenes. When Phillips broke down in tears and footage for her documentary, I Slept with 100 Men in One Day, she received sympathetic messages from those who believed she was being exploited, placing the onus of blame on the men. She replied, "I hope to God they direct this energy somewhere else. If they put this into someone who is an actual victim, that would be amazing. And to all people criticizing me, agree to disagree. You do what you want, I'll do what I want." Lily ultimately hasn't followed through on her 1,000-man gangbang after an Airbnb refused to host her and she allegedly faced a threat of deportation. The human body is not inherently shameful and neither is sex, but a line for certain taboos, incest, child sex abuse, cannibalism, etc., exists for a reason. My argument is not that these women's choices are on those levels of debauchery, nor do I agonize about how their choices impact how all women will be perceived. I'm simply saying that it goes too far. Let's practice discernment, which is pretty damned hard on the internet. Because of media illiteracy, here I am over-explaining myself so that I am not misunderstood in any way, because the last thing I want is y'all in my comment section saying, "Lexi hates sex, Lexi sex negative." My argument is not that Bonnie, Lily, or any other woman who sets out to fuck 1,000 men in a day should be harmed or killed, but that their choices push the limits. They know it, absorb and regurgitate feminist platitudes, get covered in a complicit media as empowered feminists, and then do shit like link with Andrew Tate, a sex trafficker and rapist. Bonnie talks a lot about not being a girl's girl, hating women, delighting in fucking their husbands and sons, saying racist stuff, and is generally a pandering pick-me and troll who happens to be a porn star. So it makes sense that she linked with Andrew Tate, where he's using her as an example of the inevitable extremes of feminism to generate misogyny and backlash. He praised her, but only because he can point to her as a big bad feminist boogeyman. I don't care what their behavior makes all women look like to misogynists. I am simply, personally disturbed. Someone, likely white or likely under the age of 25, is gonna be in this comment section typing, "Her body, her choice," another platitude that is devoid of context. It was Michelle Duggar's choice to have 18 children, and plenty of us were disturbed. It's a woman's choice to not bathe or wash her ass, and yet when we smell the funk, we still get disturbed. It's a woman's choice to get impregnated by a man with past abuse allegations and/or convictions, but we are still disturbed. It's a woman's choice to do drugs or drink to excess, decaying her body and destroying her life, and while we want her to get help and don't want her incarcerated, we are still disturbed. The same goes for self-harm or eating disorders. As the next 4 years of the Trump presidency continue to rattle us, we may check back in on these 20-somethings in 5 years or maybe even a decade. And I won't be shocked when these same women commit to more extreme stunts with diminished returns, when they pivot to religiosity, or when they announce that they were being exploited behind the scenes, or that no, they didn't actually love the 1,000 men gangbangs or feel empowered by them, but felt compelled to do them for the sake of brand growth. Shit, they might even be like Lisa Sparks and Annabelle Chong and reveal it was never actually 1,000 men involved to, take the heat off. While I personally don't care how these blonde stunt stars impact the purported reputation of all women, plenty of women do, which brings us back to the main point of this video. Sexcess. This topic was inspired by ongoing sentiments I've seen that express shock that so many teens and women are conservative, rad femmes, uncomfortable with sexuality, or loath to call themselves feminists. I've also seen people wonder why there are so many conservative sex workers. Let's keep it a buck. If I'm disturbed by extreme sex stunts, and I'm pretty damn lenient, how do you think the average voting age non-left-leaning American feels? Leftists and choice feminists can't be shocked that they are splintering the little power and gains they've made. The elephants in the room must be addressed. According to a 2025 global study of 24,000 people from 30 nations cited by Britt Dawson, among Gen Z, 57% of men and 36% of women think gender equality has gone too far and is now discriminating against men, while just 53% of Gen Z women and 32% of men say they consider themselves to be feminists. You really can't be shocked that Sexcess has mingled with deep-rooted religiosity and fears of misogyny to create stronger, more politically active pick-me's and radical feminists. Don't be surprised when past and current sex workers really lean into being good, accommodating sluts, making excuses for men to avoid being lumped in with the bad sluts, emasculating men. They erroneously believe it'll save them from violence or that it'll make them enough money to cushion the blow of a patriarchy on Trumpian steroids. But as Project 2025 outlined, none of us hoes are safe. Good luck to us all, and may the odds be ever in our favor. That's it for this video. Do you think we're living in a period of sexcess that is making Gen Z more conservative? Do you agree that conservative sluts are playing a role for money, or are some of them sincere? If you consider yourself sex positive, is a 1,000 person gangbang too much, or is it just entertainment and fantasy fulfillment? I'd love to know your thoughts if you keep them respectful. I remain sexually positive, but I want to move past empty slogans and internet platitudes to protect and better the lives of women in the real world. I hope this video made you think. Check out cycles of sexual revolution and regression in my series Let's Talk About Sex History, and get quizzes, playlists, and extra content on my website, intellectualmedia.com. Make sure to like this video, comment, and subscribe. And thank you again to Balesa for sponsoring this video and offering to send out free sex toys to my subscribers. Make sure you check out the link in my description box for more info.